Lancer Evolution, everything you need to know. Hello and welcome back to MIA Luxury Cars. For today's video, we will be going to talk about Lancer Evolution, everything you need to know. Let's get started. This is all the information you require to become familiar with the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution. In 1973, the Mitsubishi Lancer made its debut. It was a decent small vehicle, small, fuel-efficient, and quite dull. Mitsubishi made the decision to use motorsport to boost their reputation globally in the 1970s and 1980s, and they chose rally as their motorsport of choice. They upgraded the small Lancer's engine and entered it in competitions. It did nicely, the beginning of Mitsubishi's emergence as one of the most recognizable names in rally. By the late 1980s, Mitsubishi had an AWD Starion and was working on a Group B program. The Starion prototype drove admirably, but before it could be fully developed, Group B racing was banned due to several deadly accidents in 1985 and 1986. Mitsubishi was left with an almost finished race car, but no place to compete. What would Mitsubishi do in this situation? You make lemonade then. You submerge the Starion's powertrain under a Galant and enter it in Group A. From 1988 until 1992, the Galant ran smoothly, but as European rally circuits suddenly became too congested for large, heavy cars, several manufacturers shifted to smaller, more maneuverable platforms. Toyota replaced the Celica with the Corolla. Mitsubishi replaced the Galant with the Lancer. Subaru replaced the Legacy with the Impreza. Ford replaced the Sierra with the Escort. In typical Mitsubishi design, the engine from the Galant was transferred to the Lancer's smaller, lighter body. But they couldn't just refer to it as a Lancer. The Lancer is a dull economic vehicle. Project Automobile from Mitsubishi. This vehicle featured a WD, a powerful turbo, raised suspension, and aero. It resembles the Lancer in its progression. It was necessary to create 2,500 road cars in order to comply with Class A rules. The first Lancer Evolution 1 vehicle thus debuted in Japanese markets in October 1992. In less than 3 days, the initial supply was gone. Steel wheels and no electric windows, seats, rear wiper, or anti-lock brakes were included with the RS version. No frills really. A WD and a 244 horsepower version of the venerable 4G63 engine were the only things it did have. If the 4G63 is absent, there is no Evo. Every generation of the Evo, with the exception of the final one, was powered by improved versions of this motor. Since it is so good, Mitsubishi modified the Evo 1 to create the Evo 2 in 1993. This one only received a lighter sway bar, a larger spoiler, and an additional 10 horsepower. For the second year of a build, the upgrades are quite typical. Our wallet is still feeling the efforts of the engine change. Colin McRae was imperturbable. Mitsubishi persisted in its effort. And in 1995, they unveiled the somewhat updated but significantly enhanced Evo 3. New appearance, larger front cooling holes, a larger intercooler to keep the engine cooler, a larger spoiler, new side skirts, redesigned bumpers, increased engine compression, and a larger turbo. But the Evo 4, introduced in 1996, marked the first significant overhaul. The 4RS introduced a newer turbo, which functions almost like a robot and controls when torque is sent to each individual wheel. But most significantly, it also has two enormous fog lights that are integrated into the front bumper. At this moment, Mitsubishi's perseverance began to show genuine results on the rally stage. Driving an Evo, racing icon Tommi Mäkinen of Finland won the WRC Drivers' Championship 4 times. The Evo 5 and 6 were essentially identical to the 4. Considering that this is a construct, the Evo 7 received a new, slightly heavier chassis in 2001, along with a number of suspension and engine modifications. However, the active center differential and active yaw control introduced by the Evo 7 were more significant. While the world watched the Evo race through the woods, Americans were chopping at the collective bit for the nimble little four-door sedan with the big wing and the fog lights, and the turbo. When Gran Turismo was introduced in 1997, both the Evo 8 and Evo 9 were included in the game. Americans fell in love with it. Rally trucks and, of course, the newly modified Evo 11 were introduced with the release of GT2 in 1999. Now that North America could see what made the Evo series so destructive on the circuit, we wanted them. The program served as an introduction to drifting and the overall Japanese motor culture. As a youngster from Louisville, Kentucky, I saw the first time that street racing was more than just a bunch of obese rednecks drag racing their Sangs and Camaros across the bridge. And given that Takumi struggled to overcome the Emperor team, which was composed solely of Evos, this car must be quite dangerous. With a new Bilstein suspension, the newly modified Evo 8 made its trip to North America and quickly adjusted to its new surroundings. The active yaw controls were absent from the American edition, but it still transformed the game and did well in sales. The terrifyingly quick FQ series was one of the many special editions of the 8. The FQ400 was demonstrated by Top Gear to be competitive with the Lamborghini Murcielago. The Evo 9 made its debut in 2005 and carried on the Evo's legacy of tight, corner-hugging speed. It was now completely available in North America, Japan, and Europe. Mitsubishi maintained its Evo 9 platform testing. They created a limited edition Evo 9 station wagon in addition to the 6-speed rally variant. The Evo 10 was the final iteration of the Evo. Despite continuing problems with Mitsubishi's financial stability, they continued with the project, and the finished product was appropriate. The majority of production automobiles now have a top power of 260 horsepower, and the exterior was for the first time developed in Europe. However, the car was bulky and lacked the 4G63 engine that powered all of its predecessors. Literally, the Evo 10 lacked the Evo's heart. Production of the Evo 10 lasted over 10 years. Mitsubishi struggled to sell at that time and offered few, if any, significant improvements. In 2016, the Evo was finally discontinued. Although much to the disappointment of many, the Lancer name, and with it, the heritage of the Evo, will probably be revived as a crossover. Despite this, the Evo series' most enduring legacy is one of pure fun. It's a race car that's challenging to drive. The clutch is overly rigid. However, it has 4 doors and a large enough trunk to accommodate some groceries. It's as if Mitsubishi purchased a dull 4-door Lancer in 1992 and then made a small improvement to it each year after that. But ultimately, they were unable to continue and had to abandon their undertaking. What have you learned about our topic? Please let me know by leaving a comment below. And if you enjoyed this video, please press the like button, turn on the notification bell, and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Thank you for stopping by to watch. See you in our next video.